You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. LSU had its final practice of spring today on Thursday. Of course, they'll play the spring game on Saturday, but this was their last time on the Ponderosa. So the last practice of spring. No media availability at practice, but Brian Kelly did meet with reporters after and kind of gave a little overview of how spring went.
I thought the last 2 weeks were outstanding. Injury-free, practicing the right way, and then developing the continuity that we needed with the transfers on defense and then the young players on offense. I think we hit all of those, and at the same time, I think we feel that we also, through our strength and conditioning program, we're a better football team from a standpoint of all of the returners as well.
The thing that, when I listened to that 28-second clip that stood out the most to me was when he said our continuity on offense and our newcomers on defense. Brian Kelly was asked also, can we play number 2, about the spring game from year 1 to year 2. Actually, the only we'll play the whole thing, but it's really the second half of this soundbite, which is really, really relevant in those terms. Because he was asked about the spring game a year ago and the spring game this year. So kind of what's the difference of the expectations? Give a listen.
I think I've made this clear a couple of times, is that I didn't want to get too far ahead in a sense of not focusing on, the attention to detail necessary to build the solid foundation of a program. But at the same time, you want to see cleaner execution. You want to see a preciseness. So I think we go into this with the first unit should look like a first unit top offense in the country. You should go into the spring game going, that looks pretty good. And then defensively, the ideal situation would be the guys that they took out of the portal, they're going to help. Those are really good additions. And so I think if we walk away from those two observations, I think that I would feel good if you guys would write that stuff.
Again, so remember, how spring went. Really, the thing to focus on was continuity on offense and the portal additions on defense. What's going to be the difference spring game, year 1 to year 2? We should look like the best offense in the country or one of the best offenses in the country, and you should notice like the transfer portal additions that essentially they were worthwhile adds. Again, you don't want to just take guys out of the portal to take guys out of the portal. You want to supplement your roster. This is a giant part of roster management in college football today. So you should see those guys on the field making an impact. Remember, almost your entire offense is back. Jaden Daniels accounted for nearly 70% of your offensive production. He's back. Josh Williams, Noah Cain, John Emery, Armani Goodwin, your leading rushers are all back this year. When you look at your receivers from a year ago, Malik Neighbors is back. Mason Taylor is back. Brian Thomas, Kyron Lacey, they're all back. Yes, you lose Kayshawn. Yes, you lose Jeray Jenkins to the draft as well. But you have so much talent at that position. Like, your offense should, year 2, fifth-year senior, year 2 with Mike Denbrock calling plays. You return your top 6 of your top 7 offensive linemen. Like, it should look fluid. The offense should have a day Saturday against the defense. When you're going offense against defense, your offense should win. Now, the flip side of that is you went into the portal and you really hammered the defensive side. And in particular, when we look at, obviously, you're going to be without some of the defensive tackles that you brought in, right? Like, you're not going to see Jordan Jefferson out there. You're going to see Paris Shand, the Arizona transfer. You're not going to see Jalen Lee, the Florida transfer, but you're going to see Ovie Ogofu. You're going to see Braden Swinson, the Jack linebackers. At inside backer, you're going to see Omar Spates. The guy was all Pac-12 at Oregon State. You're going to see him, big, physical, prototypical inside linebacker. You're going to see him on Saturday. You look at the secondary, like you're going to see J.K. Johnson from Ohio State. You're going to see Zy Alexander from Southeastern. These guys that you went out and you added at positions of need, and you got experience and talent and depth, those guys are going to be counted on to make an impact. Like, you should notice those guys. Like, those should be the names that you're hearing over the PA, and if you're watching the game on the TV call or they're listening on the radio call, because those are the guys that were brought in to make an impact that are going to supplement this defense at real positions of need. And as I kind of look through it even more, and we were talking about the defense, And in particular, the defensive line. LSU's defensive line, I think if we were to say what's the strongest position offensively, I think we would all say wide receiver. I don't know that anybody would disagree with that. Obviously, with Malik Neighbors back, and then you've got I'm trying to think if you would count Mason Taylor. He's a pass catcher, but obviously a tight end. But with Brian Thomas and with Kyron Lacey and with Chris Hilton coming off of injury, and you're going to add Shelton Sampson, who's going to be with us in a little bit. Like, wide receiver is going to be your deepest, most talented spot offensively. Defensively, I would argue the defensive line, and that just wasn't the case a year ago. After Mason Smith got hurt, you rotated 3 interior players. It was Jaquelin Roy, Mekhi Wingo, and Jacobian Guillory. I mean, that's really the extent of your rotation on the interior a year ago. Think about this. Last year, you rotated 3 players on the interior of your defensive line. The interior of your defensive line. And I get it. Like, there was some shifting and different odd looks where they'd slide Ali Gay, but just a true defensive tackle rotation. You had like 3 guys. This year, you've got 4 players that have 4 or 5 years of college experience. Jordan Jefferson's in his 5th year. Paris Shand, Jacobian Guillory, Jalen Lee, all in their 4th year. So it's 4 guys that are either in their 4th or 5th year. That doesn't even include Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo, who are likely going to be your starters. And oh, by the way, you've got Ty G. Hill and Fitzgerald West and Bryce Langston. I mean, that interior defensive line looks awesome. Deep and talented and veteran. Looks awesome. And then on the edge, you bring in Swinson and Agofu to play the jack. You bring Savion Jones back. Quincy Wiggins can play that big, big edge position as well. Jackson Howard had a really good spring. You've got Deshaun Womack coming in as a freshman. Dylan Carpenter as well. So the numbers at end aren't maybe what they are on the interior. But boy, and that's not even to include, a guy like Carol Perkins, who we heard from John Jancic earlier this week, is still in certain situations going to move outside and play that jack, maybe on third down, obvious rush situation. So just a lot of reason to be optimistic about this team, and all the reasons why you're getting a lot of talk and chatter about this LSU team. You continue to kind of see it validated there. So Brian Kelly had a lot to say about spring game on Saturdays. I'll put a button on spring number 2 for LSU. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.